host, Renee Kranz. In the studio with me today, I have Deacon Glen Ridder. Welcome, Deacon Ridder.
Thank you.
Deacon Ridder he's a deacon of the diocese. He's also a doctor. So we brought him in. I wanted to talk to him about the importance of protecting life at all stages and what it's like to be a pro-life doctor out in the world today, because that can't be very easy all the time. So I'm really glad you came in. We were supposed to have your lovely wife in here with us today to do another episode. We will get to reschedule that. So watch for that, because Deacon's going to come back in with his wife, Colleen, right?
Yep.
And we're going to talk about how he got his call to be a deacon and how they live their lives as a deacon and a deacon's wife, because that is all very interconnected.
It has to be, yeah.
Yes. So, all right. So, Deacon Ridder, let's talk about, let's start with a little background on you and what type of doctor you are, your family, and so on.
All right. Well, I'm a family physician, so do a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've taken care of pregnancies and deliveries to the point where I've delivered babies to the babies that I delivered. So second
Wow.
generation to taking care of 100-plus-year-old people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've spent 4 years in a private practice down in Nebraska, solo practice for 4 years before I came up here. And this has been a wonderful transition up here. When my kids are growing up, my oldest two boys are physicians.
Oh, nice.
One's a neurologist with the Vera system, and the second son is an infectious disease doctor in Wisconsin.
Wow.
I have a missionary charity nun who lives in Rome with the contemplative branch of
One of
Mother
your
Teresa's.
daughters?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And my youngest one is teaching at a kind of a hybrid classical Catholic school in Denver.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That has got to be exciting, because a lot of the Catholic schools are kind of going to this a little bit more classical education again. So
Yeah, so she taught
Very nice.
here at O'Gorman for about 4 years, and they really wanted to kind of get this started, but there just wasn't enough fire under the thing yet.
yeah.
And so she had this wonderful opportunity to go out there to
Yeah.
Denver, and it's a marvelous
Very nice.
little school that's in the diocese. It's
Yeah.
a diocesan school, so
Yeah.
it's really great.
Very cool. How many years you've been a doctor?
I was graduated in 1985,
Oh, wow.
so
Almost 40 years.
yeah. So
And you're getting ready to retire this year.
this fall I'll retire. So.
You lucky man. I'm sure you've worked very hard. I know doctors, I don't know how you guys do it, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot
it sure
of
can
hours.
be.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I moved here from Nebraska.
Sure.
Because I was very, very busy in Nebraska in the 4 years I was there. I tell people the last 18 months I was this physician in this position, I put 40,000 miles on a vehicle.
Ooh.
So traveling around to Yankton and to Norfolk, Nebraska, my town was about Midway, and to communities around there, taking care of a whole bunch of nursing home patients. So
Wow.
I didn't hit the wall, but I could see the wall coming really fast.
You're like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go to our topic. So, one of the things I really want to know, two things. Is it difficult to be a pro-life doctor today? And what is the view of life in general in the medical community? So, whichever one of those you want to start with.
Well, I have been trained in natural family planning back in like 1996. And during the education process that was down at Pope Paul VI Institute, they actually told me that, if you want to do this, you're probably going to lose patients, you're going to lose income, there's going to be people giving you grief. I have not seen any of that.
Really?
And part of my training for that was to present natural family planning to colleagues. And none of the colleagues that I presented to were Catholic.
Right.
And none of them gave me any grief at all.
Wow.
And one of them even says, I'm glad you can do that. It's marvelous. I go, well, do you want to do it too? Well, no. But no, I taught the natural family planning over at Avera for years, and I would walk in and bump into a surgeon that wasn't Catholic, and I'm carrying back at that time my little slide projector.
Right.
And he says, oh, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm teaching a class. He goes, oh, what? And I took a breath and I said, natural family planning. And he goes, wow, cool. And that was the end of the discussion. And I got marvelous nuclear families as patients.
Yeah.
And actually, some of my colleagues kind of would envy me when I would go on vacation because they would see my patients and OB patients say, all his OB patients are married and supportive and wonderful. And so as they're dealing with STD day, and I am taking care of wonderful nuclear families. So I have been really impressed because I thought, well, if that's going to happen, that's going to happen, then I'm going to take a hit.
Right.
But I had never had more fun practicing medicine before I became a natural family planning only physician.
Yeah.
And then I was involved in O'Gorman's system, teaching the kids about sexuality and abstinence education for years. And then I got tapped to be the medical director at Avera for the Natural Family Planning Center.
Oh, wow.
And so I had this kind of captive audience. So I probably taught 40-some couples myself how to do the system, including, my sons and cousins, nieces and nephews that would call me out of the blue. I never thought they would have. So no, I just never got that much. And I think there's a fear, just like lots of people have a fear of exposing themselves as Catholic.
Oh, sure.
With all the problems that have existed, the scandals and everything over the years. And even that, has not been a problem. And so that would be my encouragement for people who are kind of sitting on the fence as family physicians or doctors of any kind that are Catholic, that yes, you can. There's no great argument that they have against us. And I'm a member of the Catholic Medical Association, which has been around since the 1920s.
Yep.
Very strong group and growing. And the biggest number of coming in new physicians are in the medical school and residencies who are looking for another option.
Yeah, yeah. Because so do you think that's just because of where you are? Like, is this a Midwest thing, do you think? Or do you think that could be possible in other places too? That it's not as bad as you fear?
Certainly Midwest is more tolerant of different personalities.
Yep.
And we're a little bit more homogeneous, likely,
Yes.
than we would be if we're in Boston or San Francisco. Certainly San Francisco.
Yes.
And so there may take more hits from that and from the bigger organizations.
Sure.
I don't really think I'm flying under the radar for Stanford, who I work for. And they've never come to me and told me anything about I have to change what I do.
Right. So what is the view of life, of the sacredness of life and protecting life in the medical community at this point in our history?
Certainly, overall, it's diminished. And I talk a lot to classes about Humani Vitae, which was one of the predictions that Pope Paul VI had, was that if contraception and this pro-death type of mentality spreads, we will see a generally devaluing of human life, and certainly we have seen that. So overall, it is. Now, in the Midwest, we have a pretty strong group that, again, tolerates us. And there's not a lot of physicians even that will jump up on the bandwagon on either side.
Okay.
And so, unfortunately, the ones that are on the other side are very vocal.
Yes.
And the ones that are on the pro-life side generally are a little more genteel.
Yes. Yes, we do tend to be that way.
And that doesn't offend anybody.
Right.
And so it is unfortunately diminishing as time goes on, but there is a growing population of interest. Because I think people realize this is not sustainable.
Right.
What society is doing on the other side.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the questions I want to ask, I'm going to add a little bit to it. So, because I didn't realize I probably knew this, but I wasn't thinking about it, that you were so involved in natural family planning. So what should people know about the real effects of contraception and abortion on the human family? Because this is not insignificant.
Yeah. And so I've been given a talk to the marriage prep group in Sioux Falls for 20 years, I suppose, and especially became much more aggressive with that talk, or assertive with that talk, when I was when I became a natural family planning only physician. And so you learn the history of contraception. And the history of contraception could be a whole talk in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, and anything that we're trying to family plan, because there are so many weird things that people have done that are kind of off the beaten path, really out of the box. They don't work, of course, but there's ingenuity that people have that have been trying to figure out how to kind of plan families for, generations. And so when you look at contraceptive hormones that are involved in almost every kind of family planning other than the natural methods, the contraceptive hormones that are in there are trying to simulate what the female body does. The problem is, for them to be pretty effective, they have to be way more potent.
Right.
So progesterone is the most common dominant hormone in the female system, only trumped by estrogen when about ovulation happens. And the progesterone is friendly to the woman. Now, there's no progesterone, per se, in the contraceptive hormones. They're progestins, which are, progesterone on steroids, basically.
Okay.
So most of the progestins that are in contraceptive hormones are somewhere from 50 to 500 times more potent than any hormone any woman produces.
That can't be good.
No, and they're masculinizing.
Oh.
And so when I talk to the couples, I talk to them about the three main effects of contraceptive hormones. So the first one is actually to kind of fool the woman's body to believe she's pregnant so she won't ovulate.
Right.
And the first ones that actually are produced did a pretty good job at that. The problem is several women died in the experiments because of the estrogen causing blood clots, other things that were happening at that time. So they did a pretty good job at stopping ovulation, but not tolerable side effects.
Right. Right.
And what's very interesting, right about that same time, he said, well, that's not going to work. And so they did come up with actually a contraceptive medicine for men that diminished the sperm count significantly.
Okay.
But men flushed. And, of course, they threw that out altogether. So you can kind of get the gist that everything that's contraceptive is pretty much directed to women.
Yes.
The second way the contraceptive hormone works, if it's not preventing ovulation, is the higher potency of the progestin that acts at the opening of the cervix of the female's uterus that plugs it, just like natural progesterone does during pregnancy.
Oh, okay,
so
sure.
The mucus plug there that really protects the conceptus, the fetus, the child within the uterus. Now, if that doesn't quite do the trick, well, now you've got sperm getting to the egg and you've got conception. The third way it works is the most assault to women.
Yes.
Is that it is being so high concentration or high potency in the uterus, where progesterone usually is very friendly and makes the lining of the uterus very open to life, basically. So when the conceptus is conceived out in almost the outer third of the fallopian tube, it takes about 2 weeks for it to migrate into the uterus, by which time it's already about 100 cells. And then when it implants in the lining of the uterus, it quite literally implants. It does not set on the surface. It is pulled into the depths of the lining of the uterus and the endometrial lining. And that's where we live for about 9 months.
Okay.
So the progestin is so potent that it creates a hostile environment there. When that conceptus of 100 cells comes in and wants to implant, it is not allowed to.
Right.
And then the contraceptive hormone pushes it out. So either the pills, that hormone drops off, can't maintain the lining of the uterus anymore, and the conceptus leaves.
Right.
And when a conceptus or fetus leaves or is obligated to leave before delivery, that is the definition of abortion.
Abortion, yes.
And that's what the Catholic Church has most against it.
Right.
And so all those things you can alleviate by doing natural methods.
Yeah.
And you can still accomplish all the goals of your family planning.
Right.
So it's offers no problems to do natural family planning and offers grand benefits because you're not compromising the woman. As a matter of fact, the initial pill that came out was the first time in history that a medicine was produced not to help something, but to corrupt a normal system. And there was a lot of hesitation. No drug company wanted it. They
Right.
go, we're not helping
Right.
anything. We're actually corrupting a
Yep.
system. And so nobody wanted it. And when the one drug company did, well, they found out that there's a huge interest
Yes.
in keeping people from having babies.
Yep.
And
Big
that's why
money.
it's called contraceptive,
Yes.
not contra-ovulatory or contra anything.
Right.
It just will not let this life come to fruition.
Right. Right. That's not good for the human family.
No, no.
Okay. So let's shift gears a little bit to the abortion side. There is a petition circulating around South Dakota right now to get a constitutional amendment on in our Constitution or on the ballot to basically make it legal to abort a baby through all 9 months.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what you think? What is your take on this, and your thoughts about it? And then I want to talk about, if we have some time, just a couple very specific kind of misinformation type things.
All right. Well, the whole thing is misinformation. And I've stood in front of the administration building and countered the opposition. And they will have a little placard up that
Yes.
says just reversing Roe, which it does not.
No.
I'd much rather have Roe than this.
Yes.
Because Roe has a lot of safeguards in it that we have developed, especially in South Dakota, over the last 50 years. And so the first thing that this amendment would do was throw out everything that we've ever established as far as care for the woman and the child
Yep.
during pregnancy.
Yep.
And there is like no possibility for anybody to intervene during the first 12 weeks. So that woman wants an
Right.
abortion, nobody has to say a thing.
Right.
They can abort,
Yep.
which eliminates parental
Yep.
permission, eliminates probably the father from being involved, certainly from the parents or the doctor or anybody else from
Yep.
being involved to make a statement that you shouldn't do this. Then in the second trimester, there's a couple things, but that they would put a little bit of restrictions on it. However, the restrictions are so nebulous
Yeah.
that there's no teeth.
Yes. Yep.
And the same thing through the third trimester. They said for the potential health of the female.
Shouldn't mean
means
anything.
She doesn't have any problems at this point. She's worried about a risk that may happen, and that would be justification for abortion to the date of delivery.
Right.
And so, no, it is not the reversal of Roe. It is definitely a miscommunication, a very misleading, deceiving idea.
Yeah.
And I've had arguments with them. They said, no, it's just reversing Roe. And then they go, have you read the bill? And I go, yes,
Yes,
I
I
have.
have.
Have you? And unfortunately, a lot of the people that are getting the petitions are paid individuals. So they get paid so much for each signature.
Oh, wow.
And when I was there, and I think they do this in all situations, they are handling 3 different petitions.
Oh.
2 which sound reasonable, and the third one is this abortion clause. And there have been witnessed shuffling of the petitions. When somebody wants to sign, here's the 3 petitions we're signing. Okay, I'll sign this one, this one, this one. I don't want to sign this one, and they'll shuffle them. So sleight of hand gets more signatures on the abortion bill,
The one they really want.
the one they're really getting paid to do.
Yeah.
And because that's there, we have already in the legislation right now trying to create a bill that would allow people to get their name off that.
Oh, good.
Which has never
Good.
been there before.
Yeah.
When you signed,
Yep,
and
it's
you're
there.
a legitimate person, it's unable to get your name off that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is not informed consent to sign this thing.
Yeah.
And then if they discover that and discover this is the petitioner, well, then all the signatures of that petitioner will be removed.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows by sleight of hand who is real, who's not.
Right.
And then there will be that option if somebody did think, oh, it's just reverse Roe, or it's a pro-life thing, because they'll say pro-life, pro-baby, pro-woman, pro-choice.
Yes.
And then that must be good.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of deception. And so the hope is that it does not make it to ballot. And
Right.
we don't know where the numbers are that they have. And like I say, with all the things that are happening, we don't know how many of them are actually legitimate.
Yeah. And they count that in May.
May.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So we'll find out then. I know we don't know how many they have, but it's probably likely that they'll get the signatures, especially if they're being sneaky about it.
Right. And so hopefully we'll be able to find that out and counter
Right.
that. But
Right.
like I say, and if it makes it to the ballot, there are pro-abortion people from around this country that have already pledged millions to support that.
Yeah, I think that is the hardest thing that we face is actually going up against the machine of that money
Yeah.
that's coming in, and they, I mean, literally, they do this on purpose. They especially come to states like South Dakota where we might not have as much money on the pro-life side to put towards it.
Well, that's
Whatever.
true
So,
everywhere.
That is true everywhere. You're
Because,
right. You're right.
The pro-choice, pro-abortion monies are coming from big business people, which makes no sense to me that they're killing their own clients.
Right,
Basically,
right.
It makes no sense. But
Yeah.
but millions and millions. And conservative states around the country have lost this battle because they assumed, well, that'll never happen in my
Yeah.
state. We're too conservative.
Right.
And South Dakota,
And so no one did anything.
nobody did anything. There's states that didn't put any pro-life money to this and
Right.
then were just appalled
Yep.
that they lost,
Yep.
that the amendment was passed.
Yeah.
And so we are in an advantage position because we are actually have seen that. And
Yes.
we say we have to go for this because
Yeah.
a lot of people in South Dakota say, well, that'll never happen in South
Right.
Dakota.
No.
And you go, well, that's
I think
what
we know
Ohio
now.
thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we have to get after it.
Yes, we do. Deacon Ridder, we're out of time, but would you be willing to stick around for a quick, like, overtime? There's a particular thing I want to talk about because you're a doctor about the health of the mother issue.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So if you will stick around, we'll do that. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed being here.
Good, good. So if you want to see this additional part with Deacon Ridder, you can come to our YouTube page at SF Diocese. We'll put that up there, and we'll talk a little bit about the issue of the health of the mother when it comes to abortion. So that is it for us today. Hope you'll join us again next week for more Catholic Views.